Hello and good day to you listening to Lagos Talks 91.3 FM, your home of conversations, your home of information, and most definitely your home of entertainment. My name is Obi, and we're still very much in our series of focusing on women. It's Women's Month, and we've been on this series, the She World series. Today, we are going to be speaking to a woman doing pretty well in the business world. She happens to be the CEO of Africa Business Coalition for Health. I'm talking about no other person than Dr. Mories Atoki. Good day to you, ma.
Good day to you, Obi, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me, actually, because we happen to be at the office here, and it's a really nice space, honestly, very, very accommodating.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing today, ma?
I'm very well, thank you.
Very, very good to have you. Okay, so, of course, we're really looking to just spotlight you, talk about your experience, especially in your career journey so far. But I want us to start off by taking a look at your early life a little bit, your upbringing. What was the family structure like?
Interesting. Typical family of two mother and father, so one parent. My father was a civil servant, worked with Lagos State, retired as the Director of Fishery Division, Ministry of Agriculture in Lagos State. My mom was she was an educationist, but prior to that she worked in Unilag. And all of us went through University of Lagos Staff School because she was a staff. And so we grew up in between,
I also went to staff.
Oh, you did? Oh my goodness.
For like
beautiful.
2 years.
Oh, wow. So we grew up in between the academia and also, of course, the civil service benefits. So we lived on the island off of Madubele Way, beside the oceanography. And it's a bit funny because we lived in the midst of, very rich people, but we were just absolutely fine. But in fairness to my parents, we had the best of education, of exposure, of experiences. And that kind of really gave me a strong background, myself as well as my siblings. So I have 4 siblings, we're 5 in number. I'm the second child, but the first female. I have an elder brother. So immediately after me, I have twin brothers, and then after them, there's a female. So I grew up, essentially with boys, and that kind of also, I believe, made me kind of much stronger and more prepared for the future. So and again, without so it wasn't something that I even realized myself until I got out there. When the going gets tough, the top gets going. So that's pretty much, the rudimentary in terms of background. We went to normal schools. My siblings went to ISL. I didn't because I didn't do well enough. So I ended up going to a convent school. In those days, Sunday secondary school. And interestingly, I did pretty well there. I don't know, because of the change of environment. And so let's leave background there.
So that's it was once your nuclear family, but now extended. So now your current nuclear family, what's that like?
So also quite typical. So I'm married to I'm a husband of one wife. And we were one of the late parents, so we just recently had a son. So we're just gently taking it step by step, getting to understand. Yes, and so we have Toluwani who's joined us last year. And that's
really great. So let's talk more about your career, especially being a woman. But I want you to take us through it because I believe you had quite the experience, especially before getting to where you are now, like where you started and where you are now. How are you able to get to, climbing the ladder and getting to this point?
So and I usually, I'm known to say it as it is. My journey has been quite epileptic. So in the sense that I've not always been the star child, And this is very important, especially for mothers who have children as they mature in education. The star child might not always be the star adult. You must understand that some children relate with education in different ways, and I think I'm one of those. So in my early times in school, I was very average. Persistently average. Really like staff school. I mean, you experience like a lot of pupils in the class.
Yeah.
And I say that I can recollect really clearly because if we were a class of about 40, I will conveniently through the terms come 20. If you were 50, I will come 25. If you were 60, I will come 30. Like that.
Yeah.
And that was me. And my parents, knew me for that. So I wasn't a special child. There was no special attention on me. My siblings were a bit, the boys especially, were a bit, they performed better, I think. So when the better in the sense that we will come 10 or come 12 and all of that. But I was that child that we just wonder, what is it about this girl? But something struck when I got to secondary school. Like I said, I didn't go to ISL, which was supposed to be the norm. I got to secondary school, and I think the pattern of learning changed.
Okay.
And I just saw myself really making very good marks. So we had a test, which was like, after doing like a class of 3 weeks or 4 weeks, they would put us to a test. I think because the reading was concentrated and it was a few pages, and there weren't a lot of distraction, I think. I did pretty well. So I would get like 90-something%, which was very strange to me. But I enjoyed it. So I enjoyed the excellence, and that stuck.
Okay.
So again, it was a matter of also beginning to experience what it looked like to do well and wanting more of that. And all through my secondary school or high school in some cases, I did consistently well. And I broke the school record since 1956 when we did the final exams, which was but I found it easy, I found it convenient, to study and to do well. And I think the test of excellence was what really got me a bit more excited about my future and my career. So having gone through all of that in secondary school and got to university, again, got a bit funny, didn't do as well, came out with a second class lower. And a lot of people think I came out with a second class upper. And I look at them and I smile. No, I did not. But thankfully to God, and with no real reason that I can put my hands on, I started my career early in organizations and multinationals that only wanted either 2-1 or first class. And so you say, how did you get there? When I was going to enter into Ernst & Young, so I'd done my NYSC. By the way, I studied law in the university, University of Illinois, and by the time, so I did about 3 years in an uncle's law firm, Olawanye. And after that, I moved into Ernst & Young. Now, Ernst & Young's criteria for a graduate entrant will be a 2-1, the minimum. And I had a second class lower. But what happened was that somebody saw something on my CV that it wasn't just going to look away from. And that was a combination of law and somebody who has started professional accounting. So you will agree that a lot of lawyers don't, go that way, the numbers way. But I got mentored early in my career as well. So my dean when I was in university, Professor Muhammad Taufik Abdulrazak, after I had a conversation with him, took me up as a mentee. So I was a protege to him. He was my mentor. Even though not official, but I would, go to him. He would send me on errands. work ends, and they will deliver, they will correct me. And so he was also interested in my academics. So he kind of inspired me to go the accounting way, because he had said that, I mean, that's the one thing he regretted not doing.
Okay.
So he would, encourage me. If I passed the stage, he would, give me a gift. So, I remember he gave me $100 when I passed my foundation. And so that was very motivating. And even my parents could see that influence that he had on me. And that was the start of a lot of big things. Because through my career, so what I saw is that, okay, if you have an edge as a person, regardless of whether you had a 2-2 or 2-1. In fact, I think if you have a 2-1, you get lazy. If you have a 2-2, you know that you're in the general space, you have to fight. And I think that happened with me. So I knew that I was in for, a lot of competition. So I forged ahead. I maintained that numbers, even though I didn't complete the professional accounting. I went to do an MBA. Got familiar and got comfortable with numbers, and that worked. That helped me. So when I have conversations with potential employers, these are the kind of things that does the magic. They have a legal background. I'm a bit strong as a communicator, and so when they ask me about numbers, I'm also able to defend that area. And I think it kind of augured well through that career choices, and of course, potential employers as well.
Okay, that's really good. And I'm just thinking, because you definitely would have had quite the challenges, especially because of what your grade was, how you had finished your school, and then people maybe not necessarily looking up to, most time trying to come to you at this point, because like maybe those that were aware, and then also with the challenge of you being a woman. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a challenge, but where in the society we happen to be, certain things are, what I say, restricted to
no.
Yes, exactly. So I want to know, like, what were those, especially in that first place you worked, of course, if it was something that was also recurring in other places as well, the kind of gender-based challenges that you experienced, being a woman working. What was maybe anyone that stood out for you the most?
So this question, comes up a lot, and it kind of has a generic and unexpected face to it. But if I'm to speak from the heart, and I hope that a lot of women, perhaps who's also had my kind of my pattern of upbringing, can hear this. Personally, and for a long time, I never noticed any gender bias.
Wow.
Yes, I never noticed. And I'm saying this, publicly so that people can hear. And perhaps other people, maybe I wasn't even really that attentive. But I think that because I grew up with boys,
okay.
Yeah, and we were a strong character in the house, and so my siblings are good like me as well. We are vocal, we speak our minds, we can be assertive, and all of that. So I think that prepared me for a lot of future things psychologically. So in anything wrong, it wasn't about whether somebody was a male or a female. It was about minds. It was about work ethics. It was about whether this person did the work well, was able to communicate, or was able to interact with his either peers or a team, or was able to deliver on tasks. And it was never a gender-based mind process for me. But again, these days, so my story is a bit different, because I think that, and I usually say this, maybe because also when people give me feedback, my cup is usually half full and not half empty. But I think that I'm one of the people, or one of the females, and I believe that our generation stands as the generation who is benefiting the most in the trajectory of the strong fighting the cause of gender equality so far. So I'm not saying that there aren't rooms for improvement or expectations around things that should change more, but I believe that even though the male gender, there isn't a lot of feedback, they're not really talking back to us about it, I think they're intentionally making changes, changes in the mindset. And I say that I think I'm one of the beneficiaries because, again, perhaps 20 years ago, I'm not sure my employers will have considered a female for this role. But I think that over time, also males have they've lost trust. Males have disappointed them. Again, when it comes to financial issues, sometimes the burden and the pressure is more on the male. Most females don't really have that urge to want to run away with somebody's money and all of that. I might speak, generically, I may be wrong. And I think that we are in an era, and I particularly benefited from that era, where some men who are employed, some of the men who were employees in the past but are employers now, want to test more females in leadership roles because of elements of trust. And I think we're going through that phase. So my feedback really to a lot of young women and a lot of females is that, see, there are more openings now for females. There's a testing process going on. Take advantage of it. You might not be the generation who will get to the level playing platform. So that's what so we want equality, we want equity. We might not be the ones. There might be another generation coming after us. But what is going on now are the quota systems, which say, oh no, we don't want quota. We're better than them. We're fine. But if you get quota, take it. If you get an opportunity, take it, because that's what is available now.
Okay, wow, that's really good, because you kind of just summed it up for me, like what most of your experience has been like, not really having to maybe go up against male counterparts and be worried that, oh, I'm a woman, do I really stand a chance? From what you've said, it's really been a case of, if you've really been up to the task, your mind, the kind of people you've worked with, and looking at mostly what it is that you can do rather than, you being a man or a woman. Okay, that's good. So now I want to talk more about, the balance that you have with your personal life, because I believe you'd have that. And there's this understanding that a woman is responsible for taking care of the home. So I want to know, how do you strike that balance between work and your personal life?
Honestly, I must give a lot of credit to the women who indeed get to that balance. And I'm not saying Nigerian women, I'm not saying African women, I'm talking about women all over the world. The balance is hard. And so you will remember that I did tell you that I had a delay in childbearing for a long period. And I did, what I could do career-wise. I did a lot of add-on to my academics. And I know that a lot of women didn't have that, opportunity. So that blessing in disguise. In most times and in most cases, something gives. It's how fast and how intentional you are able to cover up for what gives. And so I can't boast of a balance. I can boast of an incredible team that works with me, that supports, my desires, the things that I want done. I'm clearing my head, most times that this is what I want to achieve. And, once a team, once a particular person works with me over a period of time, they're able to quickly understand my style, my tasks, the things I want done. And mostly, I get a team that lives up to my expectations. And sometimes I have to stay back at home and just allow things to organically evolve and watch and learn through the process. So I'm not a boaster of balance. The reality is that we're all striving towards the peace of mind, the comfort, and for things to be better.
Okay, so now I'm thinking more so in terms of your relationship with your husband. Because of course you would definitely need time for that, and you said you had that privilege of not really having to worry about taking care of a child for quite some time. So you just do that, but of course you still needed to channel enough time to your husband. So how were you able to ensure that, aside seeing him in the night, maybe seeing him in the morning, you're still giving him as much care and presence and understanding that there is that love that is growing and existing?
I mean, so that's a very direct question. I can't also say that I'm giving him enough, but I can say that you understand what the demand is on me, and demand of a child, demand of work, demand also of my role religiously, which is also really quite demanding, and I also have that grace of him accepting that that's what makes me happy. Those are the things that I can charge my energy into. And sometimes when we push him to the wall, he bounces back and say, "No, you can't go here. As you stay here and do this and all of that." And I understand at that point, but many times than not, it's a really great degree of understanding of the demands on me from my husband, which I must give him a lot of credit and regard for. I'm not sure if it was the other way around, if I would tolerate it, but I'm thankful a lot for that. I'm thankful to him, I'm thankful to God for that, because I mean the balance you're asking for, if it was the flip side and I didn't have that support system, I'm not sure, because emotionally you'll be drained, emotionally you'll be pulled apart. You probably will not have the capacity to achieve half of what one has achieved. So I say that with a lot of humility and a lot of thankfulness.
Okay, that's great. So, as a woman, there are a lot of things that women go through. That's one thing that's a fact, with the monthly and hormones and all of that. And I believe that there are probably some other things I'm not aware of, because of course I'm not a woman. But I just want to know, because you mentioned something about sacrifice. So what has probably been the biggest sacrifice or price you've had to pay to ensure that, you let them know, regardless of maybe I still got this done, getting your job still very much secured and, running actively, regardless of whatever that might have thrown at you? Because why I asked that is, there was a time I had a conversation with a woman, and she was talking about how she said that she didn't necessarily believe that a lot of women could handle their emotions well at work, and then she found it very questionable to put women in leadership roles. I was very intrigued to hear that from a woman, but at the same time she made some sense in what she was saying. So that's why I'm asking. I want to know, what are those things you've had to, especially when it comes to you being a woman, you've had to sacrifice to ensure that the work is done properly?
So not as much as sacrifice, than as much as absorbing and being very mindful of the training that I went through in the multinationals where I worked.
Okay.
So I realized that not everyone gets the benefit of that training. You're trained to manage downwards, to manage across your peers, to manage upwards, and to manage your home.
Okay.
So that you have that complete mindset and you're able to work and deliver effectively. Now, as you're remembering all of this capacity building, all of this self-awareness, all of this emotional training that you're being given, that makes a whole lot of difference. And so for me, it's not a sacrifice. It's me being better because of that training, and me being more prepared for the reality of leadership and having to deal with people effectively and efficiently and optimally, getting the best out of them at all times. And of course, my background. So I had an incredible mother. She's late now. She died quite early. She died at 46. But the life that she lived, she passed on a lot of values, which I held on to, and it helped me. It helped me see clarity between what is right and what is wrong. How to choose, optimally what works for you, but also in the eyes of the world is also quite suitable.
Okay.
And so on and so forth.
Okay. So I like that you mentioned your mom. I just want to ask: is she someone, or are there probably other women that you've encountered or discovered at some point that really inspired you to do really great things? Or I believe she had quite the role to play in that. Are there some other women that you would like to, really just appreciate in this moment?
So my mom, when she was alive, was a great encourager for my academics. So when she heard that I attempted to do ICANN on top of my legal degree, she was, her excitement was infectious, and I can't ever forget it. And it just helped me to be better and better and better. But apart from that, I've learned a lot from older women. It's incredible. If you pay attention and you're not, you're a bit humble, you will learn so many things from older women. So most of the friends I have around me, starting from my boss, the director on the board of ABCHealth, as well as Yusufu. So sometimes I spend time with her and I experience it. Sometimes I lash out at them. You guys don't talk enough, to younger women. There's a lot to learn from you. But I think that, bias of, I don't know what, she's going to say if I'm real with her. And it's always that hindering part why some older women don't talk freely to younger ones. But the most of what I've learned that has really helped me, even with this my new baby boy, just their experiences and their push and their don't do it this way, do it that way, and my ability to take on those learnings, genuinely, and be able to filter. So you must always also have that as a person. It's what has helped the most. So I have quite a number of older women in my life. I cherish them. Okay. I know what they like. So they like being checked on. They like, being honored. And I do that to maintain, that, and I make them my support system. Deliberate.
Okay, that's great. That's really great. I like how you said something about how you pretty much just question, like, why don't you say this to younger women? Yeah, and you also said something about how, do this, do that. So what I want to hear from you, I'm sure you've heard a lot of do this, do that. What would you say to younger women who are really hoping to, get into this business world, that, looking up to you, probably trying to fit into your shoes, the do's and the don'ts that they should, ensure that they hold very dear in their minds?
Okay, so the first thing that I think works a lot, and that I would really encourage young women to be conscious of, is the peculiarity of their immediate environment. What obtains, what works, and what doesn't. And I say this because over time I've seen that, some people take on foreign exposures and they bring it back home, expecting that it's going to work magic. I think your ability to be aware of your client, your environment, besides being self-aware about you, your abilities, and other things you need to work on, is prime and very important. Having said that, you need to be culturally sensitive as a person, culturally in the sense that what obtains around you, around the environment, traditionally, conservatively, conventionally, and so on and so forth. And then what is required of you as a society, as somebody who lives within a society, to move forward. And so again, you realize that I'm not talking about you in the UK, I'm not talking about you in the US or Australia, or any part of the world. I'm talking about you in Nigeria. Let's even say come home, back home, you in Lagos, what obtains? And so for me, that was a pursuit. I needed to know what the Lagos employers were about. And one of the things that I found out early, through, of course, my mother's influence, and of course some of me just paying attention to my mentors, was they loved academics, if it was from Ivy League schools. And you say, well, that's we can afford that kind of thing. If you want to, if you really desire it, you can aspire for it, and you can get it. I told you I didn't have my parents weren't rich, but at some point in my life, I sponsored myself to do an executive education in Harvard Business School.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I put through my nose. I couldn't afford it by salary. I took a loan from the cooperative in Ernst & Young, and I paid for about 6 months. I paid back. But that on my CV made a lot of difference. Again, I went to staff school, went to secondary school in Nigeria, went to a university in Nigeria, but I knew I needed more to stand out. And so that was the start of my foreign, academic pursuit. So I went to Harvard. I did another course in London School of Business and Finance. And I did more and more over time. But I was very particular. It had to be Ivy League. So done some schooling in Oxford, Oxford School of Lake Valley, government, and then Yale University, London Business School, Wharton Business School, and so on and so forth. That's what I perceived will make some level of difference, and of course, bring you out of the general audience. The second one, or the third one, so I talked about being self-aware. The second one, of course, being self-aware kind of dovetails into academics in Nigeria, of course, Ivy League school. But it might not be as convenient for people. But realize that you need to be clear in your mind that you understand what is required of you to move up the ranks. It's not in the air. It's something that has an answer. When you get the answer, you drive towards it. You put everything in perspective. Another thing you must realize that in Nigeria, we like confidence. We like people who show some level of, not arrogance, but some level of confidence. We also like people who dress well. Of course, not excessively, lavishly, but somebody who can really, and I don't think it's a Nigerian, I think it's a global rule. If you come into a meeting room, you must be able to assert your presence. Not out of arrogance, I said, but out of, presence. And so for me, these were pursuits, these were things that I aspired. So if I saw somebody who looked like that, this person fits into, a role model, I can engage the person and ask questions, but I filter, so I don't just take everything that I hear as well. And I think it's maybe also ability to filter, to be able to take on some things and not, also matters. So those will be the three things for me, that I think will make the difference in any young person wishes to make a difference, or wishes to be different from the group. We must be very attentive.
Wow, yeah, I just like how your experience is a good way to just affirm that statement that nothing good comes easy. You have to put in the work, you have to, experience quite a lot of tough moments, and just make sure as long as you have that goal, that vision, you can achieve it. And I'm just wondering, there would probably be a lot of lessons you would have, learned along the way. What would you say is the hardest one that really, especially along the journey, you can say to advise someone out there?
So I'll tell you. So I realized that, and I realized early that sometimes some things that are beyond our control happens in life. So early in the university, I was diagnosed for something that was beyond. Nobody in my family had ever had to deal with it. But when I did the test, it was I was diagnosed for partial seizures, something that also impacted on my ability to remember things, on my memory, and that was early in the university. And so, I told you that I was coming from a very, in secondary school I did excellently well, so it's prepared, over prepared for the university. And so when I got there and I saw that I was having issues remembering things and sometimes blackouts, so I said, okay, life can be funny and tough, and things you don't expect can happen. we must realize that there's something bigger out there that is largely in control of our future, and perhaps, if there's anything called destiny. And to learn to rise above the odds, having fully understood that it was a challenge. So, of course, I'm a Christian by background, so I applied a lot of faith. I had Christian brethren that supported me and prayed along, and made things, easier for me. Somewhere along the line, it became a thing of the past. But when I look back, it's a very humbling experience. If I never had that in my life, I wouldn't be able to empathize as much with people. But the fact that something happened that could completely change the course of my life made me realize that you don't have it all together, and maybe also trust God more and put things more in His hands. So for me, that would be the biggest of it. The rising above it will be my greatest testimony.
That's great. That's really great. Okay, what kind of advice would you give them? Some swift actions. Of course, this year's International Women's Day is really focused on taking swift actions to promote gender equality. So what do you think can actually be done?
So I think in all of the charges that I've heard, the one that connects the most to me is that women need to support women. And I say because over time I've also realized the same way that I don't fully understand how a man is wired. I don't expect that a man understands how a woman is wired. So it's left to other women to understand both our extremities. It is almost impossible for a man to completely decipher what to do with a woman. And we've seen this also, cause a lot of havocs, in the health systems, in a lot of clinical trials. We understand that women are not included in the research. And so some of the outcomes, some of the drugs, some of the medications that we get is actually designed for men, and so on and so forth. It will take stronger women, but also intentional women. So again, I told you that I would tell some of the older women, you guys don't speak, you don't speak up. There's a lot of issues. And really just willing to realize things. How come this is never spoken about? Women need to be more intentional. But the flip side of that is that women need to be judged less by men and also by other women. We're the burden bearers. We're the ones who bear the children. We're the one who have to go through the cycle. We're the one who has to carry a child for 9 months and still come back to work. We're the one who's lactating and still expected to perform the same way your male counterpart is performing, and so on and so forth. The man just says physically, and it's like, okay, she's lactating, okay, he can't feel what she's feeling. But another woman can have not even the same thing, because there are also not two people that are alike. So she can have an idea. So let me give you some news as well. You see two women pregnant, it's not the same process. So you can say, after all, this one, she went for 3 months and she's back. Well, it's never the same process. But you see, it will take a woman to tell you the truth about that, because maybe her sister has gone through what she didn't go through. Some people have really life-draining, nauseous early 3 months when they're pregnant, first trimester. Some people don't feel anything, no sick day, and so on and so forth. But somebody has to tell the story, and it's a woman. somebody needs to do the understanding, and it's a woman. If you have a boss that is a man, it will take a woman to explain on behalf of another woman for you to believe. And so women need to do more mentoring and more speaking up and more supporting one another. But again, women also need to be more humble to each other. If you come with an attitude, I'm not even going to speak to you. Let's talk about mentoring you. It's as simple as that. Emotionally, I'm not even going to be required of to guide you, and psychologically. So we must realize that there's, in all of this, it has to come, for it to happen organically, people need to be a bit more lower-headed, a bit more humble, a bit more, somebody, an older woman, she's late now, she gave me an adage once. She said, if you're looking for something, and she said it in my language, which, I won't speak here. She said, if you're looking for something, you act like a fool. If you are looking for something. It might not resonate with a lot of people. What do you mean? I have to be myself. Okay, be yourself now. Let everybody be themselves. And then we'll see where we will take everyone to. But the truth of the matter is that being humble is attractive. Being humble just helps, the other person want to support you, want to understand you, want to empathize with you.
Okay. Thank you so very much, man. It's really been a pleasure, especially learning from you, not even just only women. I have learned a lot from your experience. I'm sure a lot of people listening can attest to what I've just said. So thank you. And if you're just tuning in, you've missed out on quite a lot, but this is going to be available on our YouTube. And, sometime later on, we will have a rerun of this session. So don't feel left out. Just go onto our YouTube channel, Lagos Talks 913, and you will have a wonderful session, of what we just had here. So thank you so very much. Thank you, Ma, very much. And I have, of course.
Thank you, Obi, for having me.
Yes, of course. Yes, my name is Obi, and this is me signing out. So take care and have a wonderful rest of your day.